By the time the sheriff's boat swung its floodlight across the channel, the HOA president was already waist-deep in the surf, gripping a gas can like it was a holy relic and ranting about aesthetic shoreline degradation. On the tablet resting on my knees, I watched the whole circus unfold in crisp 4K from the comfort of my living room. Infrared lenses hidden inside fake heron decoys tracked every movement. A wide-angle cam planted inside a solar path light lit up the shoreline like noon. Overhead, my drone hovered just out of earshot above my $5 million island. And there they were, the illustrious Seabs Summit HOA board, dressed in matching navy polos, stumbling around the moonlit edge of my private island like bargain bin eco-terrorists. They were ripping out my mangroves, jamming stakes in the sand, spray painting bright hazard, unstable shore signs, as if the place was a condemned amusement park. The deputy's voice boomed through a bullhorn. Drop the tools and step away from the private property. On my screen, the HOA president, Lynette Hart, froze mid-step. Clutching a bundle of rebar like someone caught stripping copper from an abandoned mall, I took a slow sip of coffee, tapped the Record to Cloud button, and muttered to myself. And that is exactly why I keep receipts. 3 months earlier, my life plan was simple. Buy small private island, work remote cybersecurity job, kayak, grill, sleep, repeat. I wasn't trying to make a statement. I liked peace and quiet. Huron Key sat a couple hundred yards off Bayfield Cove, a waterfront neighborhood filled with pastel houses, identical docks, and the spiritual aura of a Pottery Barn catalog. Bayfield Cove came with the Sabotaging Summit Homeowners Association. My island, crucially, did not. I bought Heron Key outright, 4.22 acres. A glass and timber modern home tucked behind sea grapes, a private dock and shoreline restoration already completed. It was its own parcel, not even a footnote in the HOA documents. My deed never mentioned Seabs Summit once. Lynette Hart, unfortunately, took this as a personal insult. Lynette was the sort of woman who printed emails for archival purposes, monogrammed her reusable grocery bags, and used phrases like community standards the way normal people used swear words. She'd built her sense of cosmic purpose on being Bayfield Cove's apex rule enforcer, the scourge of unauthorized garden gnomes, the executioner of non-compliant mulch. So when a quiet 30-something guy moved into a gleaming, non-HOA island visible from her kitchen window, she viewed it as an act of war. I expected some mild neighborhood friction. I did not expect the HOA to attempt to annex my island, sue me, lose in court. And then, after getting slapped down by a judge, sneak in at night to sabotage my shoreline and fabricate an ecological catastrophe. But that was before I learned the depth of Lynette's desperation to control things she did known. It began quietly. 2 weeks after I moved in, a packet arrived in my mailbox. A Welcome to Sabotaging Summit brochure. A HOA bylaws binder the size of a cinder block. A quarterly dues invoice for $1,325. On top of it all, a handwritten note. We've taken the liberty of assigning your parcel as island. 137B. Please remit promptly to avoid penalties. Lynette, HOA president. I emailed back, politely. Hi, Lynette. Huron Key is its own parcel and not part of Seabs Summit. Best Nate? She replied 30 minutes later. That's not how this works. The island visually impacts our community sightlines. Therefore, it falls under our purview. Please do not make this adversarial. I ignored it. I had deadlines and also sanity. Then the violation notices started. Envelope 1. A photo of my dock circled in angry red marker. Violation, unapproved, stain color. Must match Bayfield Driftwood number 3 per guidelines. Envelope 2. Screenshot of my kayak tied to my own dock. Violation, unauthorized watercraft stored in view. Envelope 3. Grainy telephoto of my solar tiki lights. Violation, excessive decorative lighting. Fire risk. I responded once more. I am not under your HOA. Please stop sending these. She did not stop sending them. Instead, Lynette shifted into full surveillance mode. A neighbor paddled slow circles around my island with a DSLR, pretending to birdwatch. A guy in a Bayfield Cove windbreaker fished 6 feet from my dock, but took more photos than casts. A drone hovered suspiciously close to my second-story windows. On Nextdoor, a thread popped up. Concern about the island man. Anonymous posts whispered about illegal rentals. Late-night parties, zoning violations, tax fraud, all conveniently vague. All obviously coordinated. Then came the legal letter. Condemned as unsafe, Lynette puffed, wrestling with a mangrove root like it had personally offended her. The county will have no choice but to add it to the master's shoreline plan. Once it's under mitigation, we control the access. Then Mr. I Don't Pay Dues can complain all he wants. One of her board members hesitated. Is this even legal? Lynette snapped, voice sharp enough to slice barnacles. We're protecting property values. That's more than legal. I set my coffee down and reached for my phone. Instead of dialing the sheriff's regular line, I called the environmental crimes tip number I'd saved after the first county warning. Then I sent them the live camera feed. "Hi," I said calmly. "You're going to want to see this. That's my property they're destroying." The response was immediate, territorial almost. For the next 40 minutes, I watched as the county environmental enforcement boat eased out of the marina. A sheriff's marine unit pulled alongside. Someone from the State Department of Environmental Protection climbed aboard with a clipboard in hand. I grabbed actual popcorn. When the patrol boat's floodlight detonated across my tablet screen and lit up Lynette mid-sabotage, I rewound my own footage to ensure everything was recorded twice. Drop the tools. The deputy roared. "Hands where I can see them." Lynette tried one last bluff. "This is community maintenance," she shouted. The DEP officer fired back. "On private property you don't own, with unpermitted shoreline alterations. Don't move." The power shift was so sudden, it could have caused a rip current the legal aftermath made. The original lawsuit looked like practice. First came the county charges. Unpermitted drag and fill, destruction of protected shoreline vegetation, trespassing. Then the state charges, violating coastal construction control lines, illegal discharge of chemicals in a coastal zone. Environmental agencies do not play around when you tamper with mangroves. The video evidence was devastating. In the hearing room, they played my night vision footage across a huge screen, the HOA board in their matching polos, ripping up plants like cartoon villains. "We were just performing maintenance," Lynette insisted. The prosecutor paused the video right as she yelled, "Rip out anything that makes it look healthy." "Is that maintenance, Ms. Hart?" he asked. Bayfield Cove residents packed the seats, whispering to one another as they watched the very people who harassed them over mailbox styles now caught committing actual crimes. Then came my civil suit. My attorney filed for trespass, property damage, defamation fueled by the fabricated complaints and next-door rumors, an intentional infliction of emotional distress. The HOA's insurance took one look at the footage and basically said, "Absolutely not," then dropped coverage for willful misconduct. Translation: if the HOA lost, the board members would be paying out of pocket. Depositions shattered their unified front. The treasurer admitted nervously, "I only came because Lynette said the county approved it." The landscaper confessed, "She told me to bring chemicals. I asked if we had a permit. She told me the HOA was the permit," another board member muttered. "I thought we were cleaning up trash. I didn't know we were staging a disaster scene." Lynette tried the martyr act. "I acted in the best interest of the community," she declared. The judge leaned forward. "In what universe is sabotaging someone's shoreline? Falsifying reports and attempting to engineer a condemnation action in the best interest of anything?" The final verdict was glorious. The court ordered the HOA and involved board members to pay me 7 figures in damages and restoration costs. A permanent injunction prohibited them from contacting me or approaching my property. Individual members, Lynette included, were personally liable for part of the judgment. The county mandated full ecological restoration under licensed supervision, paid entirely by the HOA and the individuals responsible, and the cherry on top. The judge placed Seabest Summit HOA under a court-appointed receiver for gross mismanagement and unlawful conduct. Lynette was removed as president, banned from serving on any HOA board in the county ever again. and referred for criminal prosecution. Her world once measured in fines issued. Violation letters mailed collapsed under legal bills, criminal charges. And the revelation that community standards don't outrank property law or environmental regulation. When the bailiff read the judgment, Lynette went pale. She stared at the floor, hands trembling as the reality hit. 7 figures. Criminal charges. Permanent ban. She lifted her eyes once and met mine across the courtroom. I gave a single nod. The woman who spent months trying to control my island couldn't even control her own future anymore. Asterisk.